so the COVID right now into COVID-19, but in Sweden. You might have heard that Sweden has been maybe the least restrictive in all countries in the world of how they are handling the COVID situation. This actually means that they have been holding everything open more or less during the whole COVID situation. The schools have been open, restaurants, kindergartens, people have been going to work. Compared to some other neighboring countries where we had a complete lockdown. But that has also given us a lot of more cases. In here we have circa 31,000 cases and almost 4,000 deaths. If you compare to neighboring countries, the numbers are very high, but Sweden has a slightly different strategy to go through this. Is it right or wrong? We don't know yet. The borders have been closed in a sense that because nobody else is letting people out or in, so therefore also there is no crossing really on the borders. But we are seeing now some openings up on both the neighboring countries in the coming days. That means also that actually it's possible to travel to Sweden. And I think once EU decides to open the borders for outside EU and the flights are back on the air, we can actually come and travel as well. Of course, companies and bus companies, museums, they have restrictions of how many people they have. There is some social distancing area. So in that terms, we are making a lot to make sure that our guests are safe, and we are having the hand spray everywhere for disinfectioning. So in that terms, we are doing a lot as well, but it's still early to say where we stand on, but at the moment we are here. So every day we're getting new information. I also wanted to cover a little bit the currency of the Swedish krona. This has nothing to do with the COVID-19, and this actually in here, these two charts, I put to Swedish krona to euro and the US dollars, and this chart is over 2 years time. That actually shows you that the krona has been going down and is very favorable for comparing to the other neighboring countries. This means that in Sweden you actually get much more for your money, and that makes it a slightly cheaper destination to travel to. Just to keep in mind when you're selling to your clients. But now, where to go to next? I have some great escapes here in Sweden. First of all, also access to Sweden. Obviously, Sweden is also in other words, or Stockholm in other words is the capital of Scandinavia. We have several direct flights to all over world in here with the good connections also from by Emirates in Dubai or Qatar into Doha Airlines, Thai Airlines, and so on. While we are already in the Scandinavia, then we can travel from Sweden to between Helsinki, which is the ferry line in here, between Tallinn, so we can connect it to Baltics, and as well to Riga. All these ferries are in here are overnight ferries, which means that this is a great hotel stay kind of to connect different destinations. We also have some good train rides in here. Stockholm and Oslo can, for instance, be taken a train within 6 hours, and from Stockholm to Copenhagen, the train ride is circa 5 hours. So there is very good ways to get around also from Sweden. So now Stockholm in general, I put some nice pictures over here so you have this idea. What some key selling points maybe for you also when you are making your brochures are, for instance, that Stockholm is built on 14 islands and connected with 57 bridges, so that we have a lot of water activities around in here, all kinds of boat sailings, fast boats, bigger boats, kayaking, water, you name it, what water sport there is. Stockholm, or I mentioned before, it's a capital of Scandinavia, but also we are having a nickname for it, Venice of Northern Europe, and that makes it very magical in that terms. In here we are having Stockholm is also home for noble activities, and we have the longest artwork within the metro lines in here. I will come into this a little bit later. And maybe the last point to mention that Stockholm actually was the first city to become green capital in the whole world. That was already in 2010, but it was the first time. So that also talks a lot about sustainability in here, how people are handling their waste and so on. So it's a great city also to visit for technical visits, for instance. So when we come here as tourists, what to do in here? Of course, visiting the old town, strolling through all the streets, the cobblestones, visiting Royal Palace, the biggest palace in Europe, water activities, as I mentioned before. And what we don't have in other cities as much is we can do some really nice dinners in several museums. For instance, a photography museum or a national museum, Nobel museum. There are many different and interesting museums in here to actually arrange our dinner. That could be a very good selling point for your tours as well. So here I wanted to visually to show you what are the main sites of Stockholm, and with the red dots and with the arrows to show where are they located. So you can actually see that everything is pretty, the main sites are really in the center of the city, which also makes it easy to go by. To start up in here, I have the Royal Palace. This is one of the Europe's largest palace. And in here we can learn about the historical monument, and this actually is also now an official residence for a Swedish royal family. In here up I have a National Museum, which has been actually reopened just after being renovated 10 years. National Museum is completely free to visit. One of the top sites in here, you might have heard of a Vasa Museum. This is a real treasure, and Vasa Museum, pay attention now, is from 17th of century. And why it is so famous, it's because it actually sunk in its maiden sail and has been underwater for several hundreds of years, and recently was discovered and digged up and brought into a museum, or actually the museum was built around the ship. So now this 6-story high ship has been preserved in a museum where everybody can go and see that. We also have here ABBA Museum, very close to Vasa. ABBA is a very fun museum. It's a very interactive museum where one can walk in and dance out, because in there everything is about singing, about ABBA songs, how they dressed like, and how they were in the times when they were pop band and were very popular. ABBA was a Swedish pop band which had their top times in their 70s, but they are still very popular right now, so that we are making concerts after them and singing their songs. Down here I have a photography museum. This is no ordinary museum. This is actually a meeting place for everybody who revolves photography. This museum has 4 exhibitions per year, so they're all the time changing. But apart from the museums, and also in here, pay attention, this museum is open until 1 a.m. So that could be a very great entrance to deal with a jet lag, for instance, when you're arriving from a long distance and need a late night visit. In Fotografiska, what I suggest is we have a restaurant over here where we actually have a view of the water in here, so we can have this 180 degrees view. It's a truly magical place, and that's why I also mentioned earlier that having a dinner in a museum, this is one of the best museums to do that in Stockholm. Then, of course, Old Town or Gamlastan in Swedish, in here where we can stroll through the old streets and look the old houses, which hold a lot of history. Going on the city hall of Stockholm. And this is actually also the place where the Nobel dinners have been held every year in December month, which also holds around 1,500 people there. I will have a picture later to show how it looks like inside. And the last main site to do in Stockholm will be visiting the Drottningholm Palace, which is the private residence for a Swedish royal family. It's located a bit outside of the city center, but there we actually suggest a nice boat tour, which takes around 1 hour, where people can also get then sailing cruise in our archipelago. So before I went through the main sites, now I would like to maybe mention you the sites that are more the trendy spots to visit, or maybe are not so known about many tourist agencies, but are equally good and equally interesting places to go and visit. Of course, our archipelago with our little islands, the rocky islands, the little boats, little houses over there. It's a truly magical place to go, where we can go with a fast boat or a slow boat, or we also have many restaurants on different kind of islands for some specific groups, ad hoc groups, for instance. On the island of Vasa Museum, we have Skansen. This is an open-air museum in the middle of Stockholm, where we can see how Sweden was in the old days. We have these old houses, the animals, people are wearing the old clothes over there. So you can kind of travel back in time in just within a few hours and experience this really nice theme park over there. I would also bring out the Viking. Of course, the whole Scandinavia is very popular about the Viking, and we have a Viking museum in each country or each city in here. Why this is so interesting? This holds also history, like for instance, Viking Ship Museum in Oslo or in Copenhagen. But this is much more interactive. It's more playful. You actually can go and press buttons, and you can see some movies, and you can see how the life of a Viking was more or less versus the actual ships that has been there. In the end of the museum visits over here, you will be sitting in a kind of a roller coaster, and you will go and see through a life of Viking man, how then he had to go and get some treasure and money and so on, how it was. It's a very interesting story. Also super for instance, if we have guests with the kids. Now in here I have the sky view. This is a great for when we want to have a site like an overview of Stockholm. People were put into this little capsule in here, and we will kind of travel over a house with this having a really nice view of the Stockholm. The metro tours, what I mentioned also before, we have the longest metro art tunnels here in Stockholm. We have more than 100 stations that have been colored or painted in different ways. This is only one option in here. And we actually are running a tour, a walking tour or metro tour called Metro Discover Metro Art. And it's a truly fantastic place. They are really making the metro station that we use every day into something very arty. And then up here, I put also the ice bar to get a bit of a glimpse of a Swedish Lapland in case our groups are not going there. This is the original ice bar, and this is a perfect stop for a cool stop. This is a permanent ice bar, and the temperature is always there, -5 degrees Celsius. So if we're here in a warm summer day, it's a great place to go and cool yourself down. In here we can enjoy some drinks from the bar, which will be served in a glass made of ice. We can also arrange optional activities such as ice carving or dinner on ice over there. Next ones, I will go through some of the hotels that we want to offer in here. We have, in our best partners, we have Scandic. This is the local hotel chain in Scandinavia, Elite chain, and the Quality. I will have here Scandic Victoria Tower, which is about 15 minutes ride from the Stockholm city central with a good capacity of rooms of 300 rooms. I will not go through all the details of all the hotels because I will send you this presentation afterwards so you can get the information from our sales people. Scandic Star Sollentuna, another very nice property by our best preferred partner Scandic with 270 rooms and located also about 15 to 20 minutes away from Stockholm city center. Elite Carolina Tower, this is a more four-star hotel located more inside the city center and actually is also good fit for FIT guests, for instance, or families, smaller groups, and for groups who want to go around in the city on their own. And the Quality Hotel Globe, and here 4-star hotel as well, is located about 6 kilometers from the central station of Stockholm in the southern part of Stockholm. All the hotels are very nicely available located, so getting there and from is super easy. And having been working with all of these hotels for many years, I think these are very good options. Of course, we have much more to offer, but these are maybe the good information at the first place to show you, and so you can get a glimpse of what we have in our portfolio. Now we are going to go on, and I'm going to show you 2 new itinerary options starting from Stockholm. These itineraries can be really mixed and matched really how you wish, and are connected with Norway and Denmark, and we can also connect them with Finland, Baltics, Russia, really how it is. So we can take little parts here and there, and we can put them together. To visually show you, I made this one example in here where we start in Stockholm. And we drive down to southern of Sweden. We spend 1 night in here. I will tell a bit more about activities. We continue to Denmark in Copenhagen and drive up to via the mainland of Denmark and take the ferry to Bergen and go and see some fjords in here and end in Oslo. In this presentation, I will only cover the Swedish part in here. But I have written down an example itinerary in here. I will not go into this, but you can ask also this information from your key account manager. So when you think back of this map I showed you, we start in Stockholm with our activities, and when we have seen the Stockholm, we are driving down towards Växjö area, where we also spend an overnight over there. Why this area? Why the Växjö area? I think the most important is that this is the area this is basically also, in other words, a kingdom of crystal. This is the place of glass design and glass art. We have a lot of art, glass art shops, the boutiques over there. It's like a big district over there where we can, I put one picture over here. In here, our guests can, for instance, they can blow their own glass, they can engrave something on the glass or paint on the glass, and this would be a great souvenir to take home. We also have some very good outlet shops over there for glass and other pieces of art down in Växjö area. So what else to do? On the way from Stockholm, we will make a photo stop in Göta Canal. You can see how this canal is kind of made like a steps in here. And this little thing is actually quite a big, large ship that goes from the canal. The Göta Canal is a canal that goes through all the Sweden. And this is one of the photo stops that we make on the way to see how actually the ship goes through this canal step by step. It's a very good, interesting place to see. On the way, we have also a short visit to famous Swedish writer Astrid Lindgren in her house, in her home house. And we can go and have some fika with mooses, and we will visit Moose Park over there, where we can feed them, we can pet them, we can make pictures with them. So that's a very good visit. Some additional visits for the next day when we are driving towards Copenhagen will be visiting Absolute Home Experience. Absolute is the Absolute Home, Absolute Vodka Distillery that is one of the most famous vodka in the whole world. They have this museum over there where we can go and see how the vodka has been made. We are learning about the process. And in the end of the class, we can also make a cocktail. As well, IKEA Museum, the famous Swedish furniture shop, is on the way. So definitely that could be an interesting place to visit and eat their famous meatballs over there. So that was the first itinerary in here, and now I have a second itinerary with slightly similar items down in here in Swedish Lapland, and we again start in Stockholm. But in this time we are going to heart of Sweden, Dalarna, which is down over here, and we are visiting also the biggest island of Sweden, the Gotland Island. Again, why this location? First of all, Dalarna. Here again, I have the itinerary, full itinerary as an example. But why to visit Dalarna? This is the place of happy Swedes. We have the traditional dresses over there. We're celebrating midsummer over there. We're dancing around the maple, like on the picture in here. There is really no more traditional place in Sweden than it is Dalarna. In here we can actually immerse with the real Swedish culture, talk with real Swedish people, and who are super honest, very welcoming, very nice people. On the way to Dalarna, we are also visiting the Falun mine, which is on the picture in here. This mine was once in the world biggest copper mine in the world. It's not on the work anymore, but at this point it's a UNESCO site due to its value. Why it got this UNESCO heritage sign is because it has been providing the copper for the whole world, and it has been it has been thought to be very valuable for the whole humanity. Just a little disclaimer in here for next year when we're planning our tours. I would really recommend to create this tour or run this tour over the Swedish midsummer. Midsummer is usually in the end of June, and this is the day when the spring goes over officially to summer. And midsummer celebration lasts around 3 days in Sweden. This is the #1 holiday for every Swedish after Christmas, and this is the time when everybody is leaving the cities and going to countryside and such as Dalarna. So I would actually recommend to run this tour next year during the midsummer, so we can bring our guests to there. We can have them activities such as in here. We can give them some clothes, and they can dance around the maple, they can play the games, and so on. I'll write down the dates so we can work on that a bit later. The second part of this itinerary was visiting the Gotland Island, the real Swedish treasure, the biggest island of Sweden. If you ask Swede about Gotland Island, they are getting this dreamy look on their face. They're thinking about history, they're thinking about culture, relaxation. And Gotland also is a very rare find because of its medieval town, Visby. Visby town dates back to 12th century, and it's the best preserved Hanseatic town in the whole world at the moment. I have put the picture in here. You can see the ruins of the Hanseatic town. Hanseatic towns, those who don't know, back in the medieval town, they were the ports where the ship traffic was going on, and because Visby is located in an island, it has been able to preserve its ruins the best way possible compared to any other Hanseatic towns. Visby is also part of the UNESCO heritage site. Apart from visiting the Visby Old Town and eating the local lunch and getting the free time to shop around, we also have some truffles growing on this island. So that could be also something to do for ad hoc groups, for smaller groups, for families, as a add-on tour itinerary option. So now we are back to Växjö area, and we are going to, if you think back to the map, we are going to Copenhagen, which I'm not going to go into now. But I would like to tell you a little bit more about the edible country and the concept of this and what it is. Edible country is a concept that has been developed over the last summer, and it started last summer in Sweden. And this is probably the newest and the coolest experience in the Sweden. So if you remember my colleague Masako, when she started her presentation, she also showed you what do we want now from our travels. We want to go to nature, we want the fresh air, we want the cool air, we don't want to see so many people maybe. So this is an excellent service or excellent product for smaller groups. Edible Country is a do-it-yourself gourmet restaurant where the visitors cook their own food in the Swedish nature. In simple world, it's an outdoors cooking school where it's also possible to hire a Michelin-star chef to come and cook together with our group. All the ingredients are gotten from the forest, and this experience is actually possible to arrange all over the Sweden, and this is available from May to September in summer months. I suggest usually this product for groups of 10, max 20 people. 10, 12 will be a good amount. It takes around 3 to 4 hours, like a normal cooking school if we would go. But it may, why is it so different is because it's outside, and I think this is a great way to learn about the Swedish nature and what it has to offer in here. Now I'm going to jump over to Swedish Lapland. You might know the Lapland in Finnish Lapland with the Santa Claus, and maybe also my colleague Masako mentioned you the Norwegian Lapland. But I would like to walk you through also the Swedish Lapland part. This picture over here, this has been taken in a little village called Abisko, and this is a sky station of an Abisko. In here, in the winter time, we are arranging aurora tours where we are getting up to this station with these cable cars over here. We are seeing the aurora, and we are also having some dinner in here. In the summertime, controversially, we can do the same with the midnight sun, where we can actually see that the sun is never setting. So it's an ideal spot to go and see it from higher up. In Lapland, obviously, we have all the 4 seasons actually in here. Some might be longer. For instance, the winter is longer in here, but we have the spring, summer, and also in my humble opinion, the autumn is actually the most beautiful time in here because we have this yellow leaves in here. The trees are so nice and colorful. The water and the lakes have not yet been frozen, which means that we actually can see aurora in there, and it will reflect also on the lake, and we are gonna get to see a double aurora over here. I put this map over here just to show you visually that the Swedish Lapland is quite large, and it's actually very nicely connected with the Finnish Lapland and as well Norway. So it's a super easy to actually run a cross country Lapland tour, coming from Finland to Sweden, and then maybe going to Lofoten Island here in Norway. Also, a few things why to come to Swedish Lapland over over Finnish Lapland, for instance. That again, I would mention the low Swedish krona in here, which makes our products cheaper, and the value of the money is higher. We have enough space in here. We are expanding. We are building a lot of hotels in here. Of course, our Sami people, Sami experience, Northern Light, Midnight Sun, and so on. In here, I have a sample itinerary what to do in Swedish Lapland, and also in here we are starting in the southern part in the city called Luleå. We're traveling back up to Jokkmokk to see the Tree Hotel over here, and we are ending the tour in Kiruna in Jukkasjärvi. One thing your clients might be interested to do the icebreaker tour, which is very popular in the Finnish part, but we actually have this icebreaker also in the Swedish part. It's slightly smaller. It holds 80 people on board, but the experience is exactly the same, and the price is actually a bit cheaper. Here is the second program of the Swedish Lapland within 3 days, where we visit Kiruna, and we will go and see the original ice hotel in here, which, by the way, celebrated the 30th anniversary last winter. So this is the first ice hotel ever being built, and has been now lasted there for 30 years. The ice hotel in Sweden has year-long building as well, so actually we can go and visit the ice hotel also during the summer, spring, or autumn time. And as well to visit the Sami people, ride with the reindeers, pet the reindeers, and so on. So this was actually it about Sweden for leisure groups. I will now walk in to mice. This presentation is mostly for mice, but I think there is also quite a nice and few things to pick up for your leisure groups if you wish to. Some things are matching with the leisure, but I think it's good to walk it through. So this picture in here, this is the city hall, which I mentioned before. You saw it outside. Now this is how the Nobel dinner has been held in the city hall, where we have more than 1,500 people sitting here. In Stockholm, of course, the events are groundbreaking and welcoming, and it's a great city really to do your incentive clients. Send your incentive clients to Stockholm. A little bit about the accommodation in here, where before I went through a lot of leisure hotels. Then in here we have a bit upper class hotels with the 5-star properties. We have, for instance, the At6 Hotel and the Grand Hotel, which is the part of the leading hotel of the world. And as well Sheraton, part of Marriott Group, and the Clarion sign with very good capacities for more than 400 and 500 rooms. These hotels all are very centrally located, so it's a perfect for incentive travel and fulfills the needs of incentive traveler needs. Sightseeing, what to do in here. Of course, like I mentioned, for any guests, really, be it you a leisure traveler or business traveler, I think Vasa Museum, the SIB from the 17th century, is a must to do. The Royal Palace, the official home of the Swedish royal family in here. The Fotografiska Museum, again, with the water view. They have a good space over there, more than 200 people to have, and everybody can enjoy the nice water view as well. And again, the ABBA Museum, where a very interactive museum where we can walk in and dance out. A bit more of activities in here. MICE people maybe like a bit more adrenaline, and you know, we want to do team building where we can do fast boat tours around our archipelago. Again, ice bar to visit that if we're not going into Swedish Lapland. Taking a boat tour at Drottningholm Palace, which I also mentioned a bit more, and the edible country in here. I put it in here because it is also possible to do for bigger groups. We will have to split them up, but it's a great optional to offer for them, and especially when we can hire a Michelin star chef to come and be with our guests. So a little bit about the venues in Stockholm. We of course have some really great ones. Perns, for instance, with the extraordinary venue in here with 12 meters high ceilings, which offers endless opportunities to our client needs. Apart from local food, this venue can also serve Asian food, so that might be very interesting for you. Vasa Museum, again, it's not only a museum, but it can also be turned into an exclusive venue where you can enjoy the dinner with her time and history. And not to mention, of course, when you're a smaller ad hoc group with a high budget, completely possible to also hire the privatized museum and eat a dinner over there as well. Nalan over here with a capacity up to 600 guests is famous for its past jazz music and ballroom dances. Today it's completely renovated and the whole business in here is eco-labeled. And lastly, probably the most classical gala dinner venue as such in the whole Sweden, Hall of Mirrors. This is located in the Grand Hotel, the 5-star hotel, part of the leading hotels in the world. There is no equivalent value anywhere in the Sweden for this room, so this is a true pearl to come and visit. Also, one disclaimer in here, in the Grand Hotel, what we actually do already now, we can arrange Nobel dinners for our clients. So that means that actually the chefs are preparing the exact Nobel dinner for your clients, depending on the year, for instance, last year menu or 2018, or we can also do the first year, 1901. That could be something interesting to do. This was quickly the MICE in Stockholm. I will also walk through MICE in Lapland, just to show you that actually we have very nice options also up in Lapland to do for our incentive travelers. In these pictures, I have shown you one of the activities, the Formula 1 race on a frozen lake. Basically, we can choose any Formula 1 track, and we are making it on the ice, and the people can go and drive there with the cars. This, of course, can be arranged also for smaller groups. Accommodation in Swedish Lapland. We, of course, have here a lot of cabins, tree hotel, class igloos, ice hotels, snow castles, and so on. But when we have a large group, they can be limited with the space. So therefore, I want to show you some options which have more space. But the ice hotel and snow castle type of accommodations can, of course, consider, for instance, the VIP groups, VIP people of the group. The Design Hotel Kust over here, it's the newest hotel in the Swedish Lapland, located in the southern part, and it has 97 rooms. All of the room interior has been inspired by the natural surrounding of the city. Clarion Sense, of a part of the Nordic Choice hotel chain, is perfect for has perfect facilities for a incentive traveler. Also has quite a good number of rooms. Down here, Björkliden, probably one of the most interesting hotel and also the accommodation place that offers both the hotel rooms and the cabins. The hotel is a four-star hotel with 80 luxury cabins also in this area. Why this is so interesting and good is because this is located in the most remote place ever. The nearby village, Abisko, actually has only 140 inhabitants. So you can imagine the space in here where you're coming from, for instance, in a big city of Ho Chi Minh City, where everything is very densely populated, and we are getting out to this very, very remote place. We can say in the end of the world, for instance. In here, it's a perfect escape for nature, peace, and quietness. And this doesn't mean that there is not much to do. There is a lot to do in this area, so don't get me wrong on that. Another option would be Kampripan in Kiruna, in the capital of Swedish Lapland, with its 90 rooms. Kampripan has also, apart from its 90 cabins, Aurora Spa, which has a pool outside, and on a good day we actually can see Aurora over there. And the restaurant has been labeled with the White Guide restaurant price tag. So activities in here, again, I will bring out the icebreaker tour, the ice bar visit and the ice hotel visit, which we can do ice carvings over here, or we can visit the hotel itself. The ice hotel itself is actually, the rooms are like, in the daytime it's an art museum, in the nighttime it's a hotel. And of course, the Aurora hunt and the dinner during Aurora, we can do many different ways, for instance, with huskies, with snowmobiles, with reindeers, walking past, really how it is better for your clients. And when in Swedish Lapland, we should definitely go and visit the indigenous Sami people. Down in here, I have picture of our very good supplier. He is actual Sami himself, and he has a lot of reindeers. We can go and pet and feed them and learn a lot about their culture. Gala dinners and events in Lapland. Of course, we have some classical venues, such as we have a Kampripan event area here, or we have the venue called Pide Housebad, where we have capacity more than 1,000 people. So you can see that we have space in here. But maybe because we are in Lapland, we should actually do something more extraordinary and have a dinner in this tent, in this tipi tent, which is actually where the Sami people used to live. In these tents, this is how it looks outside, and here how it looks inside. Of course, these are very big ones compared to a normal tipi tent, which usually has around 30 people. I can sit in there. In here, we can put up to 200, 400. One of the good activity in here is of having a dinner on ice, which is the picture over here. We are setting these tents up to on the ice, and inside it's heated. We are getting the warm clothes. We have some tablecloths and a very nice time with some nice food. And all this has been done on the ice. This is the great way to experience the snow white landscape and the midwinter darkness and the exotic cold. I have here put some few souvenir options, what to bring from Swedish Lapland. Of course, some jewelry, handmade, some handmade shoes, scarves, hats, all these kind of things. And something to eat, we have the syrup or the juice where you mix this with the water and you get a really nice juice, maybe the tastes that you usually are not able to find. And a very interesting souvenir in here, the white pieces. This is called coffee cheese, and this cheese you're putting inside the coffee, it melts, and it gets this really nice creamy texture for your coffee. I think Vietnamese people would like it because knowing that your coffee you're drinking with the condensed milk and it has this creamy texture, I think that could be a really good option. That actually is it from my side. I must say thank you very much, and I would like to welcome you all to Sweden, your guests yourself. And if you have any questions, we will go through them now. Or if you experience any questions later, I'm happy to also provide you any answers. Thank you again.
Thank you, Marit, for your informative and also detailed presentation, included also for the Swiss and Lapland. And maybe from now, I would like to invite participants, if you have any concern or question during our session, you can start your question. Marit's here and our team here to support you. So welcome for all the questions you may have.
So we have a first question in here. Could you advise about the specialties or meals with which Vietnamese tourists should try? Yes, of course, Swedish meatballs to start with is the very famous meat, which has been usually served with potatoes, some lingonberry jam, and or mashed potatoes as well. So that is the Swedish traditional dish in here. Up in Lapland, I would say the reindeer meat, which we can arrange. It's